Hi, everybody.
Hello.
No, we are not live yet. What's going
Oh,
on?
I'm getting messages like we are.
Yeah, me
Okay.
too.
Hi,
Hi,
everybody.
everybody.
How's
Hello.
everybody doing? What is it? I've got always this problem. Okay, got it now. Okay, hi, everybody. How's everybody doing? We are here again. Transgurus,
Mhm.
and this week again. In YouTube. We'd love to see you in YouTube. We hope that many people are coming. I
Mhm.
would just like to add, today we actually want to talk about a very interesting theme, which is what does routine in our life help for our well-being and stability? And I think
Mhm.
that Jimmy would like to tell us something about that. Okay.
Okay, sure. Hi, everyone, and it's good to be with everybody. So, I've always had a well-disciplined life, um, and very regimented. Uh, I always had what was known as like my plan for the day, but always leaving room for a lot of wiggle room. I would have a thought what I'm going to do today, and then let the day unfold as it may, with certain objectives to accomplish. And there's inevitably curveballs thrown at everybody, but I
Mm.
think having a direction in our life provides stability for the obstacles thrown at us. And in my life, part of this stability uh, is derived from fitness. And as we mentioned in one of our previous recent podcasts, was 3 weeks ago today, I had hip replacement surgery on my right hip. So talk about having a curveball thrown at you where all the benefits associated with intense workout uh, are those benefits are no longer there. You know?
Mhm.
And so how do we compensate? And so I think what we wanted to talk about today was how having discipline, a direction, and somewhat of a not necessarily a routine, but a a way of life that promotes inner peace and tranquility. And then these things uh, collectively provide stability and direction in our life and a sense of achievement. All humans need three things to have a fulfilled life: something to do, something to love, and something to look forward to. So like,
Love that.
um, I think I'm going to be cleared to go back to the gym in another week and work upper body. And I go to physical therapy 3 times a day, and that's working the hip and making sure that the muscles are working and range of motion and stuff like that. So I'm looking forward to that. And just in an uncertain world, in today's world, there's a lot of uncertainty. So we have to establish our own level of certainty. And we do that by establishing routines and a regiment and a direction in our life. And that's what we're going to talk about today,
Okay.
Ella.
Absolutely. Thank you. Yeah, routines, direction in our lives is always something nice. Anyway, Bobby, go ahead.
Oh, well, it's funny as you were talking, I was trying to think of other types of routines that that I think of. The first thing that came to mind was that my group of very best friends, people that I've just proven themselves near and dear for years and years, and just my very best friends. Um, we get together once a week, at least once a week, uh, uh, at a nice restaurant or something, and we uh, we just do that real regularly, like every Monday. I know I'm going to be seeing them, and we get together, and that just that routine of being there for each other and having that regular time and set aside. And then later, somebody might want to go to a movie or something like that. But at least when it comes to my closest circle of friends, we really do try to get together at least once, and sometimes 2 or 3 times a week, but always once on Mondays, which means we're all pretty much retired or work in a situation where oh, like one of the people's a small business owner and they're open on Saturday, but they're closed on Sunday and Monday, and so they're not really retired, but it's a close group of people. And then I was thinking about just other things that I've kind of picked up over the years, like once I was visiting my daughter in New England. She's married, got 3 of my grandkids, and it was late at night. There were some dishes in the sink and everything, and I noticed she just while I put them in the dishwasher, and she started it up, and I said, "Wow, it's your dishwasher's not even full. You're gonna run it with just those few dishes in it." Because I was always, I wouldn't turn it on unless it was packed with as much stuff as I could put in there. And it was like, yeah, we just decided a long time ago, we're never going to go to sleep with a sink full of dirty dishes. And I thought, I like that. I picked up something from one of my kids. And so I just said, well, I'm going to do that too. And so now this has been like 20 years ago. It was like, oh my gosh. So never go to, no, never go to bed with a sink full of dirty dishes. And then little things like, oh gosh, I'm gonna forget his name, but there was like um, um, one of the Joint Chiefs of Staff was given a lecture at West Point to the commencement speech graduating thing. He was telling them the most important thing was to make up your bed every morning, and he had all of these long explanations about why that was such a good, healthy thing to do, and no matter what kind of day you had, you would at least always come back home and your bed looked good and inviting. And he just went on and on. And so I thought, well, I'm not in the military, and I never thought about going to West Point, but I like that. So I do. I make sure the bed's made up every morning, and there just some little things like that. And then I uh, um, right after I lost my wife a couple of years ago, that really hit me hard, and it was like I just knew I didn't want to be alone the rest of my life. I really like sharing my life with somebody, and it was like I just didn't know what to do. And the idea occurred to me to just do what I did, what I was doing back in the days when I met her. And I was real involved in the community and socially active and doing this and that. And during marriage, it kind of pulled away from all of that. But then I decided, well, I'm going to get back into that. So I got on. I'm on like 4 different boards of directors, and so we have meetings every month and things to do in the meantime, and that's some routine in my calendar, and it does that. It puts me out there in the community where I'm interacting with people and making connections, and we'll have lots of events here and there, and so that's another thing. My calendar is always full of these um,
Mm.
uh, like organizational meetings, and that is something that really keeps me connected to the community and learning new. I think it helps keep me young. But to be like, well, one of my groups is a Louisville youth group, and um, it's for queer kids and making sure they've got a safe place to hang out and get together during the week. We've got a clothing exchange closet and some stuff like that, and to train them in leadership skills just positive self-esteem and just a safe place for them to make friends. And, it just hanging around teens, well, just kids. I'm a teacher too. So I don't know. I spend a lot of time with people a whole lot younger than me, like 40 or 50 years younger than me. And that really helps me too. So that's
That's
just a couple of things that came to mind.
that's nice. That's very nice. No, I think it's very nice, and we've got many things in common. I'll talk about that
Yeah.
afterward. But Raji, you go ahead, girl.
Hi, everybody. Well, first of all, Jimmy, when you were talking, what came to mind is that having that regimen of the way you work out, and that's like something that you just have been dedicated to, I believe is now helping you in your healing. I think that
Mhm.
probably you are doing better than the average person
Oh, yeah.
because of how well your body is, how good of a condition it's in,
Mhm.
and that's because of your dedication. So yeah, life, it's good to have a routine, and life can throw you a curveball. But because of the routine you had, you're able to handle this curveball really well, at least from my perspective.
No,
And
that's true. Thank you.
yeah, I really do
Mhm.
believe that. I believe it. And Dr. Bobby, I love that you talked about the fact of having a regiment when it comes to doing something fun, because a lot of us get caught up in work, 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 or the grind of surviving in this world and not really take out time to smell the roses. So I love that you shared about your group of friends. Yeah, that get together on a weekly basis. I think that's so powerful. And that leads me to my life. And what I found is I have basically a checklist, if you will, of things that I like to do in a regimental way. But at the same time, if a day comes and I may not do it, or get to do the particular thing, I don't beat up myself either, because I know that, like Jimmy had said, the curveballs can happen. So with my regiments, each part of my existence, my spirit, my mind, and my body, I have a regiment for. So, as far as spirit is concerned, I usually, not every day, but most days, start off my day. I'm in the shower and I have some motivational speaker blasting in the bathroom. And I'm taking in all that positive and those positive messages and
Yeah.
feeding my soul. And then I also um, like to pray, but the way I pray isn't always just, sitting down or getting on my knees and like, no, I can just in my mind give gratitude. Like out of the blue, I'll be going through the day and I'll just stop and say, you know what? Thank you, God, universe. Thank you for
Oh,
this. If something happens that I like, or if I receive something, I'll just say that, because, they say that the simplest prayer is thank you.
Yes.
mhm.
Like you could just showing gratitude. So that's the spiritual part of what I would call regiment for me. Mental is that I get a lot of my motivation from my activism. And I find when I don't do it, I start to feel like a little lackluster about life. So for me, it's important to do something in regards to, being an active human being in the world and contributing to society in a positive, uplifting way. And I do that in different capacities. And so that helps me mentally. And physically, I should exercise more because I don't. I might want to take a tip from Miss Jimmy, honey. But I should do that, and I'm trying to get better with that. But what I do every night is before I go to bed, I take psyllium husk, and that's fiber. And I've been doing it for the last 6 months. I started. And I find, and psyllium husk, for those of you who don't know, it's almost like a sponge that you're drinking and it goes through your digestive system. And so it has an effect of, like, you feel really clean inside, like, after you, and I don't want to get too TMI or too graphic, but after you go to the bathroom, you feel like you've like eliminated all of the waste. And so
Okay.
I could go, and let me tell you, I called my colorectal doctor and I spoke with the RN at the office and I asked her, and she said, yes, yes, yes. It's the best thing you can do for your digestive and colorectal health. Because before I started doing it, I wanted to check and see, I have a girlfriend that's been doing it for years, but I wasn't just going to start doing it until I checked with my doctor. So so it's been working out good for me. So that's one thing regimental that I do for my physical body. But I'll close with this, and then I'll throw it back to Ella. I think for me, and I think for most people, whatever your regimen is, it's your regimen. I think the important thing is that we all have to have some sort of schedule, regimen, goals, or have a set of goals for the day, for the week, for the month, for the year, for long term, for your life, to not feel chaotic, not feel like you're just kind of like sucking up air and like stumbling along in life and not doing anything meaningful while you're here. So on that note, I'll throw it back to Ella.
Oh yeah, you're absolutely correct. I think that these daily routines are so important, and it's really incredible because all of a sudden we're all talking about our daily routines, and we've got so many things in common. I have to tell you something. Bobby told that she makes the bed every morning. True. The other thing, never go to bed with the dishes not cleaned. Me too. Yeah, I don't know why, but this is kind of cleaning the mind somehow. It
Mhm.
is part of, the hygiene of your own life, I think, and it helps a lot. I've got other things too, like for example, every morning, every single morning when I wake up, I've got my little meditations and prayers. So I'm afraid if you are Catholic that they are not exactly very Catholic. They are mantras, but they are Catholic. Some of them are Catholic too, but I don't restrict myself to the Catholic world. So I like to. I've been throughout my whole life. I was always very much interested in different religions, Indian religions. I go to the synagogue from time to time. I love the synagogue, by the way. I go to the Catholic with one of my best friends. Sometimes we go to Orthodox church, and even evangelical church. Okay, evangelical sometimes they don't accept me so much, but I don't have to be restricted to one religion. I am a free thinker in that respect, but every morning I really like to have my little prayer because it gives me, you know, and it is as well something which is very important for me. It's the opportunity to thank for everything which came back as positive. Sometimes I do it in the evening, but mostly in the morning. I mean, every day in the morning. I've been doing this for 30 years. So it's not something that I started yesterday. Then, of course, I've got my friends. We go out from time to time. Unfortunately, my friends are not all around the corner. They're all over the place. And
Mhm.
that not only in Florida, but all over the world. But we do have our meetings, and we do have our, international conversations, which for me are actually something very important too, because you're not alone. And I've got my kids. We've got as well our little chat between my three kids and I, and that's very, very, very important for me too. So as far as gymnastics is concerned, I usually try to do at least during the week a little walk or go to LA Fitness.
Mhm.
Unfortunately, lately I've been very bad at it. But to have at least 45 minutes of walk outside, enjoy. I mean, I do live in one of the most beautiful places in the world, which is Florida, and enjoy the beautiful weather because it's always usually very, and when it's bad weather, it's because it's too hot. So when it's too hot, I go to LA Fitness because otherwise it's kind of crazy. Lately, we've been having such a beautiful, cool, not cold, but cool weather, which is really something very, very nice. So this is part of my mental health. And of course, for me, part of my mental health is as well, those telephone calls with my customers,
Mhm.
working, doing my little things, which I like to do, you know, all part of my mental health and my physical too, but mostly my mental health. Yes, curveballs. These days, when you are what we are, transgender people, curveballs, you've got every moment. So, and if you look at Twitter or something like that, you just go, oh my God, oh my God, But, sometimes I do believe that, yeah, probably, it's probably not going to be as bad as people think. It's not been the first time that, um, uh, that something like that. The other day I was watching something, and there was Frank Zappa
Oh yeah.
in the 70s was talking about the, the religious people in America trying to become part of the state.
Mhm.
And
Wow.
this was in the 70s. And you when you look as well as all the things that the LGBT community has had since that time, I mean, since ever. I mean, sorry, we always survived it. Why shouldn't we survive now? We just have to do something a little bit about it. And I do a little bit, not much, but I do a little bit. And yeah, we will win. So going out for me is important too. I don't go out every night because I don't feel like this. I like to cook from time to time, actually every day. If I don't go out, I like my little cooking. So this is part as well of my, you know, feeling good.
Let me ask you about those cut flowers over your shoulder. It seems like you always have fresh flowers in your house too. Or are they not so
Always.
fresh?
Okay, these ones are now not so fresh because I have to change them tomorrow. But for many, many years, I always have flowers in my house because for me, flowers, it's something from nature and it's something for beauty and it's something for my heart. I always have flowers every
Yeah.
time.
Oh,
And I mean, I usually buy them every week or every second week, and I always keep them for a week or 1.5 weeks, depending how long they are. Because here in Florida, roses don't last long; they go within 1 week. They're over. But there are some flowers which keep a little bit longer. Thank you for asking, by the way. No, but flowers for me, it's an important point. It's part of my It's part as well of my routine, actually, you know.
Mhm. Yeah.
Some beauty somewhere which actually tells me, yeah, you know, I live and I love it,
Mhm.
you know. I try to make my planning as well. I do it regularly, and my planning is pretty okay. It's pretty okay. It gets there. Um, my routine as well, because of my business, is that I have to wake up a little bit early to get my people in India on the phone.
Oh, yeah.
So, you
Sure.
know, lately it's been
The
a
time
really,
difference, right?
and we've got 10.5 hours time difference with India.
Wow.
It's terrible. It's really complicated because when I go to bed, we start dialogue, and then when I come out of bed, we carry on dialoguing, you know.
Oh my gosh. Well,
Yes.
I have to say, Ellie, you said you've been doing something for 30 years. You were talking about, I guess, when you make your bed and you wash your dishes and all.
And my
So I have a question for you.
prayers.
Were you two, oh, your prayers too, yes. Were you 2 years old then? You said you'd been doing it for 30 years. So were you two when you started that? I'm giving you a compliment, girl.
Thank you so much. No, I'm only 32 years old. Yes.
Yes, yes, yes. But no,
That's
I love
it's on my
I love
grandson's
oh,
definition. So I
oh
don't
yeah.
I'm not talking about my grandson's definition of how old you are.
Well, you're gonna be 100. Remember you said last week according
Granted,
to your grandkid.
it's
But no, what I love is the fact of like you talked about your living environment. And I also believe when you have things chaotic where you live, where the place where you call home, it creates chaos, in your mind. And so I find like when I do my weekly cleaning, like when you do your extensive bathroom cleaning and you might mop the kitchen and stuff. I find like you feel so good. I feel so good afterwards. Or if I go through a drawer and organize, the same thing with me making my bed or washing the dishes before I go to bed. It's I believe that it creates having that regimen at home creates an order and less chaos in the mind, more so you can be peaceful and focus on the things that you really want to focus on.
well, I am not the most, kind of square, putting everything in the right place all the time. I always try to have a clean house because that for me it's as well peace of mind. But there are still, I have to tell you something. I'm Swiss, okay? And I always worked in Switzerland. And in Switzerland, everybody at work had an absolutely spotless desk. No paper hanging over. And if there is only paper, it's in very special places. And I was, when I started working, I thought, oh my God, these people are really good, at keeping things up. Until I found the reason how it works.
How does it work?
Everybody in Switzerland, their desk has got a little place where they, little kind of what do you call cover. So you just leave the cover there, and that's where all the papers are.
So they're really good at camouflaging, hiding it,
Thanks.
right?
That was really always for me kind of a sensation because one day I was doing something in the office and someone just opened it, put it up, and I looked at it and I said, "Oh my God, the old papers there," When I was at university, because I was university in London, I had a teacher that had his desk looked like the Second World War.
Oh,
The papers were all over the place. And he was an engineer, a professor, super intelligent, fantastic person. But his desk was the most it really looked like a Second World War. It was like there was a couple of bombs falling down there. But I know, but he was kind of, and I had another person which I worked with, and he had all these papers on a pile. And it was a really incredible pile because the pile was almost as tall as the desk, you know?
Yeah.
He had all these papers in that pile. But you know what? This guy was absolutely a genius. If you asked about one paper that he probably wrote 2 years ago or something like that, he would go inside the pile, he would put his finger and he said, oh, it's here. And he took it out and it was exactly the right one. And
That's called Ella.
everybody was going, okay.
That's called an organized mess. You have it looks messy, but you know where everything is.
Which really means, you know, we don't always have to go by a standard. We're all different. Everybody's got their own standard and everybody should be happy of the standard they have. But it's important that you are at peace with yourself and that you, you know, you get what you want and you feel peaceful, you know. You have to make sure that life is, you know, I enjoy, for me, lately, I enjoy a lot of as well the time that I'm just living. I'm just breathing and I'm just living and without doing anything special. It's not that I do that for hours, but you know, those times are important too. It's that time that you look a little bit on your introspective power and you are in yourself and you are just feeling. You are alive and you've got the right to be alive. So that is my opinion on that, you know. But we are all different and many similarities in many respects, but you know, and that is something that people should really understand, mainly some of the people which you hear these days. And you know what? Your way of living is probably not the only right one.
Right.
You know, a little bit of heart is always good. Bobby, you were telling?
Oh, well, Raji reminded me of something where she was talking about gratitude. And I know that we've talked about that in the past, but in our community, it's so common to be focused on what you don't have. Like if only I could get breast augmentation, you know, or whatever. And you know, when your focus is on what you don't have, you'll never have enough. And you'll always be anxious about the future because that's where, you know, that's where your happiness is. You can't find it here because, and just being grateful for everything during the day is really just a key that kind of unlocks the treasure chest because when you're grateful for what you have, you just all of a sudden it's like you've got more and more. And I think it's real important to just that's a daily mental habit to always find yourself expressing gratitude for just the smallest things, even that, you know, even if you're healthy and you just walk up 3 flights of steps and, you know, it's like it didn't kill you or whatever. And the other thing, though, that goes in with the gratitude and how you're thinking is another thing that really helped was uh, I used to not sleep very well and was talking to my therapist and it's like, well, what are you doing before you go to bed? Well, I'm checking email, I'm checking Facebook, and I'm looking at the headlines and news, and it's like, well, no wonder you can't go to sleep because you're filling your mind with all this stress and commotion and bad news, really. And you know, it's like, don't do that anymore. And you know, it's like what you were thinking about that last half hour of the day before you fall asleep, the things that you're thinking about, your subconscious really does process that stuff overnight. And you know, and so it doesn't know any better if you fall asleep thinking, man, I live in a dreadful, horrible world. I wonder when it's all going to blow up. Well, that's what your subconscious is preparing yourself for, is just this mean world. When it doesn't have to be that way, when you can look at these really wholesome thoughts that lead to meditation, or these great proverbs and truths that 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 really add to your wisdom and your sense of calm and peace. Those things happen. And along the same lines, I've noticed too a routine of talking to yourself like someone you love, because I think it's real easy for us in our community to just tell ourselves, "Oh, I'll never pass," or "I'll just, it's just blah blah blah," that kind of stuff. And you talk to yourself like you would never talk to somebody you love, or somebody you love, you wouldn't want them talking to you like that. And and it really hit me hard. Once I had gotten really good and disciplined about losing weight, and I was making really good progress every day, every week. And it was late at one night, and I'd gotten out of the shower, and I walked past a full length mirror, and I caught a glimpse of myself, and I looked and said, "Wow, you're doing a great job, sweetheart." And the reason I remember that was because I was 70 years old, and that's the first time I ever called myself sweetheart. And
Wow.
and it just floored me. Uh, how can that be? And how have I been talking to myself? 7 decades. I mean, it's like I never referred to myself as sweetheart. And that's why it was so easy for me to remember, because that's one of the first time it ever happened. And I'm thinking, that's really sick. That is really, really sick. And so I try to do that too. And it's along with gratitude. It's just, being grateful for yourself and the things that you've got going for you.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. You just told something about it, which I think is very important too. It's talking to yourself. You're absolutely correct about that. And when you talk to yourself, please be kind.
Yeah.
No, I mean, yeah, sometimes I'm not so kind with myself.
Mhm.
But sometimes you just have to look, yeah, okay, you made a mistake. Okay, you're learning. You know, we all make mistakes.
That's so true.
Yeah. Jimmy,
I'm hearing a lot of good stuff from everybody. And I think one of the things that Raji touched on was her activism uh, in support of our tribe. And I think that's where there's passion with that, and it makes
Yeah.
you alive. You know, it's hard to be passionate about brushing your teeth, but it's easy to be passionate about something that's dear to your heart.
Yes.
You know, yeah. No, I think we had mentioned this in other podcasts. Take inventory. I think Bobby was talking about this. We need to take inventory of what we have, not what we don't have. And I know that we're talking about trying to add stability to our lives in an unstable world. And you start the day by making your bed. I saw that same video from the West Point,
Yeah.
the officer, and I do the same thing. And as far as the dishes go, yeah, I try to keep the house clean. Because these are things where there's the conscious, and then there's the subconscious. And then there's the spirit, and all these things are different energies that are influenced one way or another. And by making our bed in the morning, it's a subconscious commitment to having order and stability in our life. And the same thing with the dishes at night and then everything in between. So that making the bed sets the stage for other actions and activities that are going to occur during the day. And just think of everybody on the planet made their bed every morning and did their dishes at night before they went to bed. The planet would be a much different place than it is now. So what's the act locally, think globally. So if everyone has their affairs in order, because we are all connected. The quantum connection, somehow or another, the collective consciousness, we're all connected somehow. Our thoughts blend with each other in the ethers. And by us making our bed, somehow or another, subconsciously influences someone else to make their bed, even though they may be on the other side of the planet. Because I think our consciousnesses are all connected. And the split experiment has a lot to do with that. And that's probably another podcast on its own. But an electron or a proton responds differently when someone's watching it, even if it's remotely. So there is, I think, there's a lot we know, but there's much more that we don't know. And I think the planet is engaged in a spiritual ascension, but at the same time, there's chaos and uncertainty. And you talk about someone's desk. All my affairs are in order. And I remember years ago, I went to South Africa for a wedding, and I went to this travel agent that was setting it all up for me, and I went to their office, and they all had cubicles, and I walked into the office of my travel agent, and it was same as your friend Ella, and I said, "Oh my God, how can you find anything in here?" And the other travel agents in the other cubicles heard me say that, and everyone started laughing. But the travel agent said, "I know where everything is, and here's your folder, and here's your tickets." So everyone has their own recipe for achieving results.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
To some people that is chaotic, but to other people, this is how I want it. So there is no, I think someone else said this, there is no right or wrong way to do something. There's just your way to do something.
Sure. No, there isn't. I agree, absolutely. Yeah.
And these things, one other thing I wanted to mention. So when we have routines and, wake up in the morning and go for a jog or go to the gym or whatever, be at the office at a certain time or go volunteer somewhere, a lot of stability can be generated by volunteering too. There's nothing stronger than that of a heart of a volunteer. And it provides a sense of worth, self-worth. But these activities act as anchors. So when the wind blows, you're not swept away. You're anchored to your foundation by our actions and our routines. And a lot of times it takes discipline to establish a routine. And there's a lot of noise in the background. I think the ice cream truck's going down the street. But
and that ice cream truck, believe me, has a routine.
And I remember last week when we were doing this podcast, I was home. I had to get up and close the window because it looked like he was parked out front of my neighbor's house selling ice cream.
Yeah. Raj, your turn.
Sure. Well, I love, I think Bobby touched on this about loving yourself and like the whole thing, walking by the mirror and saying, great job, sweetheart. Many of us were too hard on ourselves. in the sense that the inner language, like, oh, you're stupid, or oh, how could you have done that, or oh, you know, you idiot, or whatever negative words you may use. And what I try to do when I feel that way is I think of my little self that's inside of me, the little innocent kid that, you know, was new to the world and, you know, was excited about things and but feeling like, you know, unsure about who they were. Um, and I think about that, and that helps me to be kinder. Because, you know, when we talk to a child, you know, oftentimes we're not going to be like, you idiot, you know, if they make a mistake. You're going to be like, oh, hon, no, this is not, you don't do it that way, you do it the other way. So I try to think about my little kid inside. But I also want to address this too. And Jimmy just talked about this, how there's no one right way.
No.
I think Ella even said it too. There's no one right way. It's your way that you know. And I had to learn that because my mom, I love her dearly, and I mean, she's the epitome of mother's love. But she has her way of doing things. And growing up in the home, like let's say she wanted me to fold towels. Well, then, like, say I didn't fold it exactly the way she wanted it, she'd come behind me and say, "Oh, forget, you know, you're doing it wrong. Let me do it." And so I took that message on, and I didn't realize until years later. I was in therapy with my therapist, and I was talking about something. I don't know if it was the towels or something that, oh, when my mom does it this way. And he's like, Raji, your mom does it that way. That doesn't mean that that's the only way to do it. You know, the, who says that the way you fold the towels is wrong? And that was such a powerful moment for me because I realized not putting my mom down in any way. I mean, you should see the house I grew up in. It's a beautiful home. You know, I grew up in a really beautiful home and all of that. But that moment that it clicked in me that that goes for all sorts of things in life. You know, we and I think it's just so important because that's one of the things that if you feel like you're not living up to the mark or like you start comparing yourselves, I think a lot of siblings do that too. Like my sister, you know, master's degree. She met my brother-in-law in college, PhD. You know, they live in the suburbs of Pennsylvania, big, you know, California home and all of that. Now, if I sat here and tried to compare, it would be like comparing apples and oranges because her journey is not my journey and my journey is not her journey, and and one journey isn't better than the other, you know. And so and I couldn't be my sister. I couldn't live her life. I would be unhappy living her life, you know. So you know, I think that's how what we have to keep in mind as we have regimen in our life and as we live our life, that you know, you each person marches to the beat of their own drum. Ella.
Absolutely. I think that is very important that you know, this thing that we are all different and that is and be acceptance for that. And but there's one thing I actually, it is true. You have to look at what you have, probably not so much what you don't have. But you have to dream too. Throughout my life, I always had my dreams. And you know what? They always came reality. It's only a question of time. I'm not saying that you have to look at something which you know you'll never get it. Probably will, you know, you never know. But in a negative way, look it in the positive way, but dream and you know vision what you want to get because it's so important to be part of your life. It's a little bit the growth that you have, And that moment when that little dream comes true, and sometimes you're not even waiting for it, it's a magical moment.
Mhm.
It's
Yeah.
part of being a magical moment. There's one thing I actually didn't tell about my routines. One of my routines is you have to have something, a little win every day. It doesn't make a big difference if a huge win or a small win. But you every day, you have to give you that little moment of joy because you achieved something.
And
I
and,
love
and
it.
so weed is what does it for you.
It doesn't matter if the little win is just because you cooked something so nice.
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
It's not, it doesn't important how big it is, but every day have a smile in your face somewhere because you did what you wanted. And the worst thing that you can have is that you are so bitter with everybody because you didn't get it what you wanted. You are attracting negativity, and that's not good for you. So keep on having that little win, you know?
I love it. I love it.
Hey, we've been here almost an hour, and I think it's more or less time to go. Um,
Mhm.
I
Yeah.
would like to ask you, beautiful girls, to make your last comment for today. Bob, you want to start?
Wow. I think what you were saying about having a dream and wanting to go for it. And I remember I was a kid once and I was reading the Sunday Parade magazine, and it was a letter to the editor, and I saw the four words that changed my life as a young kid. I was like 12 years old. Those four words, I had no vocabulary. This is back in the 50s and the 60s. I had no vocabulary. I saw the four words that changed my life. It was Christine Jorgensen sex change. And and it was like that was the moment I realized that I wasn't the only person in the world that felt like I do. Uh, and it was a glorious moment. And I made up my mind right then. I'm going to do that. I'm going to do that. I don't know how I'm going to make it happen. I don't know where to go, but I'm going to do that. Um, and I never let loose of that dream. But I wanted to just be sure to let you know it was 56 years from the day I'd made that decision until it finally happened. Um,
Wow.
and and but I made that decision. So again, I didn't know how it was going to happen. But that's when all the cosmic tumblers fell into place, and all of a sudden it's like, wow, I can make this happen now. And so I did.
What
But it took a long time.
That's what you live for, to find your
Yeah,
happiness. Peace.
yeah.
Jimmy.
I thought that this was a pretty good podcast. It's good to see everybody.
Yeah.
Uh, yeah, I've closed with this in the past, and I'm going to close with it again now because it's powerful and it has to do with mindset. And like the dream is the origin of all things. The world will step aside and let anyone pass if they know where they're going.
Ooh, powerful.
Absolutely. Raji, your turn.
Wow. Oh my gosh. We did this show. The theme of the show was regiment, but I think we've gone way beyond. And that's what I love so much about our group is that we can have a theme, but then organically it takes us to different places. And I want to close on touching on the fact of dreaming, having goals and aspirations and setting them and making declarations, which that is what you did, Bobby, at 12 years old. You declared something for your life. And even though it took 50 something years later, it happened. It happened. So declaring what it is you desire, what it is you want is powerful. But I think the key is, and you help it to come faster oftentimes when you declare it from the having and as opposed to the not having, because
Yeah.
it's about like the vibrational frequencies matching the thing that you want. So what I have done from time to time is if I want something, let's say I don't necessarily believe that I can have it like 100%. What I will do is I will write it down and I'll draw a circle around it. And then I'll write things around the circle that I do believe, similar things to what I want, but things that have either manifested already or that I know I can have it if I want, but make sure it's similar to the thing that you want that you wrote down in the center. And writing down, I know it probably sounds like hoodoo voodoo for some people, but writing down is basically bringing your thoughts from thought realm into physical. When you write it on paper, you're bringing it into this realm, because the thought realm, where is it? This is our brain, but where is our mind?
Mhm.
Our mind is somewhere in the ethers, so it can be a powerful tool. But on that note, I will close with just thanking everyone for tuning in. Tell your friends and family about us. We definitely have good stuff for you every week, and I
Yeah.
want to wish everyone love, peace, and blessings. Ella.
Well, yes, I just want to add something. It's what is really incredible about dreaming is that you never know when it's going to happen. I mean, for my case, let's put it this way, at least 90% or 99% of my dreams, they came together. And I still have got a couple, it's it'll come. But the good thing is that you never know when they come. But that is as well part of the big deal, or whatever you want to call it, because it's that surprise, it's that enjoyment when it comes about. I think it's my perspective. Anyway, thank you very, very much for watching our show. As usual, it was absolutely great. We'll be here next week at the same time, so please join in, and bye bye.